Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and there's NFL news to talk about, including Jameis Winston joining Tommy DeVito in the New York Giants quarterback room. Maybe not quite the signal caller they had in mind, but he's the one they have. A word, Denny, that the Chiefs, quote, prioritized. Re-signed Marquise Brown. Very love to hear that from Marquise Brown. That's good. And wow, they prioritized it. That's awesome.
That feels good.
Chatter, quote, that the Packers could use a first-round pick on a wide receiver. They are desperate for an alpha wideout. Doesn't seem like the greatest receiver class to me, but I've heard at least three could go in the first round. J.J. McCarthy admitting he's not been promised the starting job thus far. The Conk Daddy getting a new team. Aaron Rodgers still not getting a new team. Maybe some time to talk some under-the-radar signings if we have enough time at the end of the show, Denny. But first, we're always going to have time for someone saying they're going to retire to start a large family. Puka Nacua, as you may have heard, making. So first off, trying to take my first job of having 1 million kids.
Right.
I'm trying to take my second job of having a podcast. He went on a podcast and made these incendiary remarks that, he might only play for like 10 years. What do we think of Puka Nacua claiming he might retire before the age of 30?
Yeah, I mean, it means that, he's 23, so we're talking about 6 or 7 seasons until he hits that limit. We'll see if the money, keeps him in the game or if he'll go the way of Calvin Johnson, who he probably doesn't even know about, by the way. He's probably too younger to know about Calvin Johnson. Also, if I remember correctly, Puka Nacua has never watched football. Like he's like,
I think he did have one of those things. Yeah.
So he says, yes. What Pat's talking about, Puka Nacua says, I want to retire because I want to have 5 specifically boys. He wants to have 5 boys. He wants to have a starting 5. That's what he said. I think you can have kids and work. I'm not sure. We're looking into that strongly. Our interns are looking into it right now. But I'm gonna hear right here on air. I want to ask Pat: is he going to retire before 40 as someone with 27 kids?
Denny, I will retire at the age of 140 because that's when I will have saved up enough to have the 4 children that I have. I went to, again, we all know I've become a Disney dad, but I'll be paying Walt Disney's ghost until at least the age of 140 after our visit there last week.
In payments, which is nice.
Yeah, it is. And they do a lot. They allow installment plans.
Yeah, right.
They've allowed an installment plan. This is not a joke. For the $20 gold coin, my son convinced me to get him. And I think it has like Mickey on it or something. And Walt calls me once a day now. Just don't forget, just not trying to pressure you.
Yeah.
You haven't made your latest installment on the gold coin.
Right. Just because you spend 1 Bitcoin every time you go to Disney World doesn't mean anything. You're going to be fine.
No, see, I will not be retiring. It's a nice thought, though, isn't it? It's actually not a nice thought. You and I have got the classic. We picked one of the professions where you can never retire.
No.
Your brain can always be like, oh, you can always write.
Right.
The people like the AI.
Well, that's why
it's not going to do anything. We'll be writing till the end of friggin' time.
Yeah. What am I going to do? Just stop writing? Come on. No. That's why I think it's bogus when I hear like a radio personality or a columnist be like, I'm retiring. No, you're not.
No, literally never.
No, you're not retiring, because every time that happens, what happens is the radio host retires and then gets 3 podcasts, right? So you didn't retire. You didn't go anywhere. The columnist starts his own blog. Like, that's just how it works now.
No one has more fake retirements than radio hosts, by the way, because radio job lasts longer than 4 years, obviously. And then one of them retires at age 52, and yet another oldie station has gone all sports talk. And needs 20 hours of content and has rehired Kevin Slayton, someone who has worked for, I believe, 19 different radio stations in St. Louis.
An oldie station, by the way, that plays exclusively Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And the oldies now, I know it's like, here's 2 weeks by Bare Naked Ladies on the oldies.
That's not it.
Nope. I'm never been more deceased than I am right now. Yeah, when we were younger, oldies, like what? Wilson Pickett?
Elvis?
Yeah, Elvis was definitely, Elvis was a lot of Elvis on the oldies, which all right. This format,
like Ray Charles,
outlived its usefulness. Yeah.
Like really like old sounding music, not
Temptations,
not I don't even know who. Nirvana, literally Nirvana. No,
they haven't gotten that. It hasn't gotten that bad.
It has gotten that bad.
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't.
You're out of touch. You're out of touch.
I mean, I've listened to radio in like 20 years. I
listen to it every day.
Oh, yeah, Denny down horrific. You know who else is down horrific, Denny? The New York Giants. They've signed Jameis Winston. It's Jameis who's down super bad because he got a 2-year, $8 million deal, which is frankly pretty bad even for a backup. Because now, like a lot of times, the going rate for like a solid backup is like $8 or $10 million a year, sometimes more than that. If you're a truly contending team, not a good contract for Jameis. Not a contract that suggests the G-men are done adding.
No.
In the quarterback room. Was there really any point in even evaluating the signing? Because now all the best ball fluencers, we're getting all kinds of everyone's doing their best graphic, like Malik Neighbors to the moon. And like, it might be 3 games.
Stop it. Wait, is that seriously happening?
It's not really. I mean, a little
okay, because Jameis Winston's not going to take a snap for these guys.
He might take a snap. So here's the deal. There's 2 different outcomes for Jameis Winston, but neither one of them involve him starting 17 games. That is the only clear takeaway from the signing. 17-game outcome, truly non-existent. He could make 3 or 4 starts if it's the rookie path. If it's Aaron Rodgers still comes aboard, even Russell Wilson, then it quickly plummets to probably 0 starts. And with a rookie, I'd say it's a 3 or 4 game margin of error. So it could be 0, it could be 8. But yeah, it's hard to find anything meaningful to say about the signing because it's the most ever like incomplete like signing we've ever seen, like to be determined in the Giants quarterback room.
It's unfortunate because there's such a chasm between real football Jameis Winston and fantasy football Jameis Winston. Front offices see him as a walking pick six, as a total disaster. We don't really care about pick sixes unless you're in some like twisted league that like penalizes you 10 points for a pick six.
Not even kidding. We like pick sixes because there's a pick six. By definition, they're either down more or their lead has been narrowed, so they have to throw more.
Oh, I like it. When I turn
six, yeah.
If I've rostered Jameis Winston and I see him throw a pick six, I'm like, yes, let's go.
Especially on like the first snap. It's like, all right.
Yeah. Oh, we're in now. It's over. It's like I'm scoring 30 points. I'm getting 30 points from him today. I mean, they're not done adding. Come on. It would be cool because we talked about volume as a quarterback stat, right? The Flacco situation. Same thing with Jameis. Like there's 0 chance of the Giants being a run heavy team with Jameis Winston under center, but I don't see him. I see him only starting in like literally like an emergency situations.
This probably does preclude them from signing Aaron Rodgers.
I think so.
I don't think you sign Jameis Winston if you're planning for that quarterback room to also be occupied by Aaron Rodgers, where it does tip the Giants' hand, where it's either another budget veteran, like run back the Steelers plan from last year, or it's a rookie where they make peace with their Shedeur Sanders future, their Shedeur Sanders destiny. Like, all right, he's not even good, but we're going to take
it. Would be, I will say, it would be a lot of personality in one quarterback room if you had Rodgers and Winston in the same room. A lot of
wow. Yeah. 2. Wow. Could you seriously, a little bit different speaking styles, although they're both evangelists,
right.
Both are never not evangelizing.
That's true. That's true. Different things, but
every quarterback meeting for the Giants would take 5.5 hours.
Yes, you're right. They're drafting Sanders. Let's be real.
Is it Sanders, or are they going to do something even more unsatisfactory where it's like with the 38th pick, the Giants select the 4th best quarterback in a terrible draft class that will be out of the league after one rookie contract?
They could do that for sure. I have to say, if I'm Brian Daboll, I mean, you're basically holding on by the skin of your teeth right now to your job, right? And if you draft Shedeur Sanders and lose 3 games out of the gate, immediately your job you'll be on the hot seat. And the quarterback's father will be the one likely to replace you.
Wow, that is a weird dynamic.
Yeah, it's going to be really ugly for whoever drafts Sanders and gets on the hot seat, because then the press will be like, oh yeah, well Dion will just be in the head coaching seat next year.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, who cares? And there's no one. We didn't care about the season anyway. Who cares?
Yeah,
and it's whatever.
So good luck.
Probably should have talked about Aaron Rodgers next, but I'm going to stick with the show sheet. We'll talk about AR in a little bit. We're going to talk about Marquise Brown. Again, the Chiefs, apparently news that they prioritized re-signing him. And, I don't know. A 1-year deal. It happened early in free agency. There's another thing, though. Can we even be bothered to care about this one? He's about to turn 28 years old. He's had 1 1,000-yard season in 6 years. Rashee Rice is coming back from injury. Xavier Worthy, the weird off-the-field issues, seems like he will be on the field in 2025. Travis Kelce is still there to like do like his old man Jason Witten thing? Is there any room, any chance we're going to get at this time it counts Marquise Brown Chiefs season in 2025, Denny?
Yeah, I think the main impediment here is like, how's he going to get on the field? Like, how is he going to run like a decent route rate in this Chiefs offense? Because you have Rashee Rice, who I know is coming off a serious knee injury, and who knows how long that'll take to get right. But the Chiefs only used 3 receivers on 49% of their snaps last year. Now, look, that could have to do with the fact that Rice was out for most of the year. And then Brown was out for, until week 16 or 17 or whatever. So, that could bump up from 49% to maybe like 60%, but there's still the issue of like, how is he going to get on the field enough? I will say one thing Hollywood Brown has going for him is that he was targeted at a high rate, 29% target per route run rate last year.
That was kind of weird.
Limited usage. It was basically like, if he was in the game, the play was kind of designed for him, But Mahomes seems happy about it. He's quoted in our blurb there on Rotoworld, and that might mean something. Who knows?
The biggest problem for Mr. Marquise Brown is there's never going to be more snaps for the taking in the Chiefs receiver corps than there were last year. And I guess one reason he didn't take them, because one of the reasons there were snaps for the taking is that he was out. But the situation is just never going to be more unsettled, uncertain than it was. I mean, I guess famous last words in the NFL. But if it didn't happen last year, it's like, why would it happen this year? And I guess, again, the easy rejoinder to that would be, quote, he will actually play this year. So he didn't play last year because he wasn't healthy. But
I think it actually means more for Xavier Worthy than it does for Hollywood Brown, because from what I'm reading from Chiefs beat writers, the Kansas City offense was finally able to operate as Andy Reid had intended in the preseason when Marquise Brown went down with a shoulder injury, kept him out for 4 months or whatever. Brown was used as like the clear out guy so that Xavier Worthy could see the underneath stuff. And Xavier Worthy's ADOT dropped significantly over the final month of the regular season, and he was fed those easy button targets. And that has to do, at least in part, with Hollywood Brown's presence. So it could actually, maybe we overlook Brown and just say, well, this means a lot for Worthy.
It's true. But then there's also variable number 3, that if Rashee Rice comes back healthy, he was the easy button guy before. Then do they have to force Xavier Worthy back outside? And the whole thing is just such a mess. And
it is.
I'm sure the best ball bros are prioritizing someone right now, but I have no idea who I'd be I'd probably still be prioritizing Xavier Worthy, just because lots of variables, but he on the field too. But he finished the year strong.
He did.
He has the skill set to do deep and underneath, and he's not hurt. So I guess there's maybe the fewest question marks with Xavier Worthy.
I think
fewer than there are with Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice.
I guess a Chiefs stack is pretty reasonable because, Mahomes is not going as high as he used to. You can pretty easily get Kelsey. You can easily get Hollywood Brown. Like, that's not a problem. You throw Xavier Worthy, but you need 3 guys out of those 4 in order to really make it work. If you think that, like you do, apparently, that Mahomes will be back.
We'll say curious. Sounds like someone's describing Patrick Mahomes being good.
No, he's good. He's just not back, for fantasy.
Because some might say, oh, okay. All right. You snuck in the 4 fantasy. Like, yeah, I absolutely love to be gone when the low point is so you're losing the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
really love that. That's the year I'm gone. It's the year we just showed up and lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no. I mean, if your fantasy league gives points for success rate on dropbacks, then hey, you got it going. You're going bananas with Mahomes.
It is weird. I mean, stripping away the artifice, is it really ever coming back? It is a little tough to see why it would. For the longest time, it was tough to see why it wouldn't come back, like the big pyrotechnic downfield Chiefs offense. I do worry they just had too much success. We need the defense to get worse. We need this defense.
So I'm actually in agreement with you totally that why would they change anything that they've been doing? It works beautifully, and there's no reason to be like, well, now we got to go get our the next Tyreek. Like who cares? They're fine without him.
I guess if it changed, maybe it wouldn't be a conscious choice. Maybe if it just changes, it's the top 3 receivers all stay healthy. It's just a much smoother, more on time operation. Since everyone's healthy and on the field, I can actually get their timing down. People are more open. Like even Travis Kelce's more open. If the defense has to roll a lot more respect to the receiver core. Maybe things just naturally open back up. If they get better health luck than they had the past few years. But yeah, I feel like it's to the point where it wouldn't be a conscious choice for the Chiefs offense to like open it up and go insane-o mode again. And basically we need some good health luck. And
there's also, I mean, we're talking about, what this is Mahomes' like 8th season in the league coming up.
I think so.
When he first entered the league, there weren't a lot of these dual threat fantasy football breaking quarterbacks, and now there are. And so like a guy like Justin Fields could outscore Patrick Mahomes next year because he has the rushing.
Yeah, he got it. They was beginning right when he came in. I believe him and Lamar were the same season.
Mm-hmm.
At least he came in the league a year before Lamar. Mahomes' first starting season was when Lamar took over mid-season. And that was just right when Josh Allen was getting rolling. That is a good point too. But I mean, I don't know, if you throw 50 touchdowns, it doesn't matter if you're
he could just do that.
I would simply do that if I were Patrick Mahomes. I would simply, if I were the Green Bay Packers, find one good wide receiver, Denny. Because you know what you always say, when you have 4 number 3 receivers, you have 4 number 3 receivers.
Yeah, that's right.
And some people even I think I tweeted that once. People started quibbling even with that number 3. I'd say 4 number 4s. Which
oh, really?
Yeah, people like were saying I was like overpraising with the number 3.
Oh, wow! I thought they were going to be like, you mean 4 number 1s?
I know Romeo Dobbs. You have no idea what my computer says about Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah, he has tricked the computer, I will say.
There is chatter though that they could use a first round pick on receiver. I believe I saw in our blurb they have not done so since 2002 with Javon Walker. With that news. And really, it's been telegraphed for a while. You have Josh Jacobs like openly begging for a number 1 receiver. The coaching staff didn't trust any of these guys down the stretch last year. So this probably is going to happen, is what I'm trying to say here. And which of the holdover 4 of Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, who's the other guy? Jaden Reed. Which of them do we even feel confident holding on to? Not that you're cutting them, but who are you still even excited to hold in dynasty leagues? Or are all 4 of them kind of like sell them if you can, or just ambivalent holds? Like, who are we still constructing positive cases for in this currently constituted Packers receiver core?
I mean, I think for the price point, a guy like Wicks makes sense. And I hate to say that because he's the ultimate like
price doesn't matter if you're not good.
I know. Fantasy and bio, I get it. But I highlighted him in a recent piece because the metrics love this guy.
Which metrics? I didn't think the computer would ever like a guy that never catches a
pass. Not like EPA or anything, but as far as like getting the ball, like he gets the ball. Like he really like
I wouldn't say he gets the ball. He gets the ball thrown at him, and then he doesn't catch it.
No, that's what I mean. He has chances.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for with a guy like that. We're hoping that one day he does convert on those chances. He has not so far, but you need the first thing before you get the second. You need the ability to command the football before you can actually do things with the football, and he does that at a high rate. So I guess I would say him. Jaden Reed, like he was a merchant of nobody else being available during the last 4 weeks of the 2023 season. Like that was it. Like he was the only one left, and that's the only time he's ever been like really good for fantasy. So no, I don't see Jaden Reed as a guy you have to hold on to.
Yeah, Jaden, the baby Debo thing just isn't happening. And Wicks honestly makes sense just from the perspective he's the youngest. He's 23. Christian Watson's 25, coming off major injury. Jaden Reed turns 25 next month. Romeo Dobbs turns 25 next month. I guess I should say Dontavian Wicks turns 24 in June, but he's an entire year younger. That adds up in Dynasty pretty quick. 1 year might not sound like a big deal. It's a pretty big deal in Dynasty fantasy football. And yeah, he is the only one, despite the very vivid, visible lows. Like there's still maybe untapped highs, and the computers do like him. So, but even I would just make it really simple. But yeah, he's the youngest, so whatever.
So I would say Christian Watson, but he just cannot stay on the field. So
yeah, over under in Christian Watson remaining career catches, I'd put it like 39 and a half.
Yeah, it's a really bleak outlook. I mean, he seems to have figured out the soft tissue thing. He went to the lab to figure that out, but then he has the knee injury. garbage or in a meaningless game. Is that right?
Yeah. And he played, how is this right? He played in 15 games last year and caught 29 passes.
Oh, man.
What? He did turn it into 620 yards.
Yeah. No.
I mean, 20 yards per pop. But
yeah, it's a 70-yarder every time. I mean,
man.
But Christian Watson clearly will never be an intermediate pass catcher. That ship has sailed a long time ago.
And Watson, I would have preferred another soft tissue injury to what was it, ACL, right?
Yeah, it was a serious thing. Yeah.
I would have just preferred, and he hasn't solved the soft tissue thing, but he will this offseason. He's going to go to a different literal lab.
Yeah, we're going to need more labs.
We need more and more labs for Christian Watson. We need more time. We're right back after this. This April, the free NBC Sports Now channel is your home for all things NFL Draft. 115 hours of original content are coming your way during our NFL Draft Month. Don't miss a minute of the best rankings, analysis, and mocks all month long. Visit NBCSports.com/now for more info. Mocks is sometimes that was a hard word to say in the flow of an ad.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Thanks.
That sounded terrible. No.
It was weird.
Mocks.
I couldn't say it. But yeah, we do have a lot of good stuff. So much. Kyle is going to be posting mock drafts constantly. Connor Rogers, mock drafts and a big board. Eric Froton, Mr. NFL Draft. We have so much good stuff on rotoworld.com from our draft crew. Sorry if I'm forgetting anybody, but we've got a lot of good stuff coming. One guy they were talking about incessantly last spring, and for good reason, was J.J. McCarthy. He was one of the most polarizing NFL quarterback prospects in recent memory. We ended up getting a mulligan on the entire thing, the entire debate. He missed the entire season with what I would term a mysterious knee injury at this point.
Complicated injury.
Yeah, complicated knee injury, which, by the way, I was going to start litigating something on the air. I'm not going to do it, actually. It was a little dark.
All right.
About injuries and NFL futures. But J.J. McCarthy, he's trying to surmount this injury. He admits that he hasn't been promised a starting job yet, which, I guess isn't that surprising. The Vikings still can't quite extricate themselves from the veteran quarterback market. Their denials remain entirely unconvincing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm saying there. So J.J. McCarthy, he probably will be the starter. But there are legitimate variables. I don't know why I framed the question this way, but did you see how I framed this? Did you read this?
I'm waiting. I did see it, but I forget.
Okay, so I was going to say, sitting here today, Denny Carter, who scores more fantasy points in 2025? Is it Sam Darnold on the run-first Seattle Seahawks, fire and brimstone, or is it J.J. McCarthy with Kevin O'Connell? Trust the process, trust the weapons, trust the young man's health.
It's a good question. I would say McCarthy just because he has Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson, and it's a good quarterback system. I'll go with McCarthy, but that assumes that he's okay, and that he doesn't have any complications, and that he's ready for training camp and all that stuff. So I'm not super confident in saying McCarthy over Darnold. I do think Darnold is just in a really bad spot for fantasy, so. That plays a factor. I have to say though, this thing where McCarthy, he was at a golf event talking with Kay Adams, and Kay Adams asks, "When did the Vikings tell you you're the starter?" Ooh. And McCarthy has to say,
"They didn't."
Well, they actually haven't done that, and I'm actually happy that they haven't because it keeps me working hard.
Actually good news that they gave me bad news.
It's good that they refuse to commit to me as a franchise quarterback. It's not bad. You people would say, well, it's bad. No, it's good. I like it. I want more of that. That was awkward, super awkward. But Pat, I don't understand what's the holdup. If they say they're out on Rodgers, what else are they going to do? They have nobody else. They got to go McCarthy.
It's also classic, just lie. I don't know. Build up his confidence. Not JJ shouldn't lie because that would get him in trouble with the coaching staff. To say, I guess, I don't know. I guess it's good that they're not lying. But we have all the faith in the world in Mr. McCarthy, provided his rehab progresses as expected. Of course, he's going to be out there week 1. It's got to be because they're trying to keep the Rodgers channel open. That's really the only thing that makes sense.
I know
why Rodgers hasn't signed. Why they won't commit to JJ McCarthy. Why the report just won't die. I feel like they're trying to keep them Rodgers.
The part of that Rodgers Vikings report that looms over everything right now is the is the little snippet, quote, at this time.
Yes.
You know, they're not interested at this time in Rodgers. You know, I don't know what are they waiting for? If they really are committed to JJ McCarthy, then somebody needs to come out and say it very clearly. He is our week 1 starter. You know, no if ands or buts, you know, just go with it. And they haven't done that.
Denny going full textualists on a Diana Rossini report.
Yeah.
Brilliant and Federalist 18.
That's right. Yeah. I guess I am.
You are, but I'm picking JJ McCarthy, by the way, over Sam Darnold still, just because I'm just placing the upside bet. I don't see what the upside is with Sam Darnold. The most obvious career year in history.
Yes.
Even if you were back with the Vikings, I feel like that was the most obvious career year you're ever going to see for Sam Darnold. And I really think the Vikings are like root and stem the Seahawks are like root and stem redoing their offense. Like we run the ball now. Ryan, seriously, the season was over 5 minutes and we fired Ryan Grubb.
It really was.
And the receivers are gone. Cooper Kupp is there, but talk about a low upside flyer with his recent health history. And just, it's a situation where they're trying to bring back Panther Sam, where he handed off, did a hell of a job handing off the ball.
He did. No one handed off better than him.
No, it was kind of like Tannehill ball, where I'm here to hand the ball off and here for the coach to pick the exact perfect moment to throw a play action bomb.
That's actually it. I think you're right about that. By the way, the Vikings apparently had either talked about or talked with bringing in Ryan Tannehill.
Oh yeah, they did. To bring this thing full circle.
I mean, Tannehill, didn't he retire?
He did. Well, no, he didn't retire, but he said last year it would take like a perfect opportunity for me to unretire, and it turns out that he was telling the truth. And so someone actually did tell the truth.
I don't know what the perfect opportunity for Ryan Tannehill would be.
The Vikings would be probably.
I guess.
Because it'd be KOC, the cocoon of the KOC system.
Yeah. He could be protected there. Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. Talk about a guy who doesn't protect himself well.
No.
I've never seen a quarterback take more helmets directly to their spine than Ryan Tannehill in his entire career. He loved the spine crushers. Absolutely loved them.
Tannehill was a guy who played unbelievably bad or better than you've ever seen anyone play. Nothing in between.
I just pictured Ryan Tannehill pointing at a whiteboard. You want the crown of the helmet to hit you right here for you to lose all feeling. I'm like, well, this is kind of dark.
The fifth vertebrae, preferably.
Why would you want to get hit that way? Next question. Anyways, JJ McCarthy, sure, why not? We'll be talking about that one more as the summer goes. We're never going to stop talking about this other one, man. Aaron Rodgers, blah, 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 blah. He finally, progress, he has actually been to Pittsburgh. He took a meeting with the Steelers. He has yet still refused to sign with them. We're just going to assume for the purposes of this exercise, Aaron Rodgers is on the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025. If this is the case, Denny, and give an honest answer, don't give a troll answer. Who scores more fantasy points in 2025? Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers or Kenny Pickett on the Browns?
Rodgers. I mean,
man, come on. You were supposed to give a troll answer.
No, I know. I can't pretend like Kenny Pickett's going to be even halfway viable. No.
Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston roll out of bed and throw for 320 in this system. You really you don't believe in Kenny?
You had
Super
to bring
Bowl
up
champion Kenny Pickett.
I forgot about him leading the Eagles to the championship. My bad.
His really good 3 quarters in that game. Did they win? I can't remember.
I mean, he has played pretty well in the time that he's gotten in Philadelphia, and then before that, I was thinking of Gardner Minshew in Philadelphia. Never mind. Same guy, by the way. Same guy.
Not the same. Kenny Pickett wishes he were Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. By the way, did you see Cam Hayward of the Steelers is just sick of this Rodgers thing? And he said,
already, that's a great sign.
And he says, I don't want to hear. I'm not going on a darkness retreat. He said, I'm sick of this quote crap. Okay, and so that's why I think Rodgers would fit well in Pittsburgh, because he can't do his routine. He can't do his shtick, which he did in New York, because New York had no foundation, right? He came in, he dictated how things were going to go, not just offensively, but with the entire roster. He goes to Pittsburgh, he's just a cog. That's it. And that's what I think that's what Cam Hayward was saying in this interview. Like just come on and be our quarterback, man. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like Mike Tomlin is our foundation. You're just here to play.
Just here to play. Yeah, he'll score more fantasy points. Excuse me, than Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, it's a pretty good situation with Pickens, with Metcalf, and with
is it guys who run like slow developing downfield routes? Is that really good news or not?
Okay, I take that back a little bit. I'm gonna back up a little and say that the emotional combination of George Pickens and Aaron Rodgers strikes me as something that may not work.
Calamitous.
Okay.
Calamitous.
Like on-field struggles, on-field fights.
The guy's showing up. Someone is showing up. Garrett Wilson, who's like way better. No offense to George Pickens, than George Pickens, and Rodgers like showed him up the entire season. It could be a very volatile situation, but
I don't know. By the way, I don't know about Garrett Wilson being way better.
Yeah, I know.
Garrett Wilson probably not even good.
He might not be.
No,
I hate to say it, but
the analytics say he's probably not good.
Well, the analytics have a way of getting fooled when the situation is so. They try to be context independent, but it's impossible for them to be. Well, we shall see. I'm sure we'll never talk about Aaron Rodgers again, but
yeah, this is
we'll talk real quickly about the Conk Daddy. 1 year, $3 million deal with the Chargers for Tyler Conklin. This is an offense that made Will Dissly viable last year. Are our best Conk days still ahead of us, Denny? Or
he could be a scam. You never know. I mean, if the Chargers, I know we differ on this. You think that and you have a decent reason for thinking so, but you think the Chargers are going to get back to run heavy next year.
I thought that until they signed Najee Harris, because they clearly that confirmed to me that they want to.
Yeah.
But after 18 carries for 71 yards in week 1, like Jim Harbaugh's like, man, I can't do this. I thought it would work for us. But I can't do this. I can't do this.
He's gonna stop the bit, and
he's gonna stop the bit after one Najee Harris start. But we should.
Yeah, I could see that. That actually is probably likely. Who are we talking about? Oh yeah, Conklin. Yeah, so I mean, Conklin could just find like the soft spot in zones and just get peppered with a bunch of targets. Like he's a replacement level guy. He's a fun nickname. We like him on this show.
Yeah, it's mostly because the name's the only reason we ever talk about him.
Yeah, no. If his name was Joe Smith, there's zero chance we'd ever talk about him.
Yeah, next. Yeah, who cares? He hit 1,100 yards. I don't care.
Just Joe Smith.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. So I think he'll probably be a streamer, but I know I'm going to talk about him a hell of a lot.
We will. We're going to be talking about Tyler Conklin. Just a system that does seem. Again, Will Dissly was streamed multiple times last year. And the wide receiver situation, it could be worse. It could definitely be better. A pretty good landing spot for Mr. Tyler Conklin. Brandin Cooks signed somewhere. Why did I put this here? With
the Saints. It's a retro signing, folks.
That's right. Retro future Brandin Cooks to New Orleans. I feel like he's got like 9 different places to come full circle. But he's come full circle in New Orleans. But it's Brandin Cooks just so cooked that this will be the only time we mention him on the show all year. He's
cooked. But there's one caveat, and I have a bunch of numbers here. Let me just start with last year in yards per route run. So this, good measure of efficiency for a pass catcher. Brandin Cooks ranked 104th out of 110 qualifying wide receivers. It's hard to do. Can you guess who? Oh, shoot. I forget his name. Who was last?
What was the metric again?
Yards per route run.
Oh, it is yards per route run. Justin Watson.
Not a bad guess. Jonathan Mingo.
No. Man, what was it? A 3rd round pick or is it a 4th round pick? I think it was a 4th round.
Jonathan Mingo is in the running for worst receiver of my lifetime.
He's one of the worst to ever do it. We really do not like to pile on, but he's one of the worst to ever do it.
It's truly amazing.
One of the worst to ever do it. Jalen Rager's up there. Corey Coleman's up there. These are all guys I took in Dynasty, by the way.
Yeah, and you're not mad.
No, never been less mad. Especially about Corey Coleman. Never been less mad about that one.
Getting back to Brandin Cooks, over the past 2 seasons, 148th out of 200 receivers in ESPN's open score. Last year, he had a 44% receiving success rate. That was by far the lowest of his career, way below his career average of 55%. But here's the caveat, and it's a small one, but I got to throw it out there. 2023, marked Brandin Cooks' second highest receiving success rate. I don't know where that came from, but maybe not totally cooked. Who knows?
Maybe not totally cooked. Last year's extra concerning because it was a team where he was badly needed.
He was. Yeah.
There was no second gear. Mr. Brandin Cooks will be 32 this season. We'll be back in 32 seconds when we come back after this. This summer is your chance to catch the Premier League in the United States of America. Manchester United, Bournemouth, Everton, and West Ham take the pitch across the nation. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit premierleague.com/summer series. Denny, London's coming to America.
All right. I love my London soccer.
London's coming. I think only West Ham's from London of those four. Everton. Do you know what town Everton? Oh, you don't know. It's in Liverpool.
Thank God.
Bournemouth, I believe, is in Bournemouth and is not a neighborhood in London. I mean, how many neighborhoods does London have?
I know.
My God.
It's like New York. Like I don't.
It's well beyond New York in that regard. How many neighborhoods does London have, and how do they all have international sports teams valued at $2.8 billion?
Right.
Every single neighborhood in London. Bournemouth is indeed a standalone town, though. This is a standalone feature, but under the radar free agent signing or signings, Denny. By the way, I don't really have any prepared, so I'm going to be looking at mine while you're talking. Is it just one guy or do you have multiple guys? What's an under the radar free agent signing that you like? Now 2 weeks removed from free agency.
I mean, I mentioned him last week, I think, with Kyle. Kareem Hunt is just a guy who the Chiefs just love. Like it doesn't matter to me so much that a running back is not efficient, doesn't get you a ton per carry or whatever, but he gets a lot of high value touches as far as short yardage and maybe goal line touches go. And Isaiah Pacheco doesn't scare me at all. So, I mean, Kareem Hunt, you probably get him in like the 12th round of your draft, and he could end up getting like 12 to 15 touches some weeks in a high powered Kansas City offense. That, and the listeners know that I think as far as like zero RB goes, right? So like that's how I'm evaluating these running back options. To me, Kareem Hunt screams like just draft me, and you're going to be able to plug me in sometimes. And has as much touchdown equity as anyone in that part of the draft board.
I could see the Chiefs adding a running back in the draft. They have a lot of holes though. And then maybe they've already made the other addition in free agency with Jordan Mason. Oh no, not Jordan. Jordan Mason was traded. Elijah Mitchell is now a Chief. That's somewhat intriguing. Isaiah Pacheco is one of the biggest wild card players in all of fantasy football heading into 2025, because we always knew he was going to maybe be a deceptively low ceiling player because of his proclivity to get injured because of his violent running style. And that was really, really borne out last year and just coming back way too fast. Yeah, he's one of the most on-the-spot fantasy players. He could render Kareem Hunt completely irrelevant. Elijah Mitchell could too. But I do agree, the ADP is not going to really develop. It's going to be gross, only touches based. But there was probably a belief, including shared by myself, there's no way Kareem Hunt is going to run back this experiment in 2025. But based on what you're saying, he is in a position where it could happen again.
I mean, it could, yeah. And again, like if it doesn't work out, okay, you spent the 12th round pick on him. Who cares?
Miles Sanders to the Cowboys. Who else did the Cowboys sign?
Javonte Williams. Yeah.
Miles Sanders can be under the radar because career low ebb flyer attention is all going to be focused on Javonte Williams when it could easily be a situation like, well, Javonte was never good after all. And Miles Sanders, there's not a big difference between Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams.
I would lean Sanders pretty easily right now.
You would lead Miles. Wow, that's pretty.
Yeah, I know. I'm willing to bet against Javonte no matter who. Like no matter who it is. Like he's that kind of done. The Athletic had a piece about how bad Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin were as pass catchers last year. Not necessarily as rushers, but as pass catchers, they were two of the worst in the NFL as far as per target and per reception efficiency. And that's 2 years running for Javonte Williams. So I would lean Miles Sanders, but the Cowboys, I mean, they got to do something else. They can't go into the season.
No. I wonder if that's a secret Sean Payton is washed stat, by the way. But Sean Payton does not seem washed on the whole, but he has not had his backfield magic touch through 2 years in Denver, which has remained one of the biggest surprises to me about the entire Sean Payton experience in Denver, because that was like the one thing you took for granted with Sean Payton in fantasy. He's going to come in, he's going to make some guy like third down relevant.
Well,
they unable to do that has been scary.
He's tried to press the issue there, and they still pass to the running back position at one of the highest rates in the league, especially on early downs. So basically, like the extension of the run game, a concept that we saw in New Orleans for years and years with Sean Payton. He's tried to do that. I actually think that Javonte Williams and McLaughlin have been that bad. Like
I do agree with you. And the Broncos, the latest team, like, yeah, it's great that you plug anyone in, they can catch 50 balls. What if you plugged in an actually good player?
And that's why I think, they might be in on a guy like Hampton in the draft, or, some running back that they have to really go in on.
I know who Hampton is. Why'd you say I didn't?
Guy from North Carolina, really, really good on my spreadsheet.
Okay, I actually do know who he is, but barely know who he is. Barely know who any other under the radar running back potential. Jordan Mason would be one, because Aaron Jones thing, They basically telegraphed they didn't even want to do that. They are doing it again. Maybe Kenneth Gainwell to the Steelers, but it was a really, really, really low wattage free agent running back group. Same deal at receiver, where the two guys who came to mind for me for under the radar free agent signings just aren't going to really produce fantasy value. I do, for some reason, love the Nick Westbrook-Ikhine addition in Miami. Yeah, because the number 3 receiver spot has been low-key, quote-unquote, one of the most problematic spots in any offense in the NFL the past few years, where the Dolphins are they're not getting viable snaps from the third receiver spot. And it's not that big of a deal when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but it would definitely make their lives easier if the defense ever had to care about a third Miami Dolphins wide receiver. They do have to care about a third pass catcher out of the backfield, and with Jonnu Smith. But I think it's just been kind of like a weird unmentioned hindrance of this Dolphins offense that they're giving number 3 receiver snaps to like sub replacement level guys. And you could argue how good Nick Westbrook-Ikhine actually is. But, I mean, he did establish himself as a red zone threat, although supposedly a lot of them are outside the red zone.
I still believe in Malik Washington myself.
I know. That one was sad that it didn't work out.
Not so far. We'll see. I wrote about Jonnu Smith on a piece that published on Rotoworld today, if folks want to check that out, his target commanding abilities. Real quick, I want to mention Evan Engram as a winner, as an underrated signing. Honestly, Pat, I tried.
It was one of the only rated signings. Evan Engram was one of the only rated ones.
Look, I'm sorry. I tried.
Rejected.
I tried to find a receiver I wanted to talk about. I did not find one.
There's none. Demarcus Robinson is another one, because coaches just love him. And he's the ultimate. He's going to like knock Shanny's socks off, and like Shanny's going to no longer care about anyone he's paid or drafted in the first round. And Demarcus, again, the whole bit in October, Shanny's going to get incredulous when someone implies the plan all along was not to make Demarcus Robinson. What do you mean? Where'd you get that from? What made you think he wouldn't be the number 1 receiver? Like the reporters like really rattled. Like, well, I mean, come on.
I don't like watching Shanahan interviews after games. Even after he's won, he's in a sour mood.
They're awful.
By the way,
I have one more name. You buy the way, then I'll buy the way.
Okay, real quick. Engram, we do have a little situation with Engram in Denver, because they're calling him. They're saying that he will have the Joker role. And I think we know what that means.
We do.
That means they don't know how to use him at all.
They
and
don't.
Just going to call him the Joker.
Or they mean he's going to go Joker mode, and he's going to be totally Heath Ledger hanging out of the cop car.
No, it means that, like, well, he's a tight end, but we could use him as a receiver, but he's not.
Yeah, you're true. You never ever want to hear a tight end whose role has a nickname.
No, it's bad.
No, he's the well-wisher. What does that mean? Just throw him the ball. The only other name I want to discuss really quick was could Christian Kirk be the under the radar?
Yeah, sure.
He's kind of like a left for dead guy, but someone who's always produced, sort of. He's had a baseline of production, I should say. A Texans receiver core that is not as good as you remember, quote unquote. just because it's Nico Collins and his bulky hamstrings and kind of no one else. Or Christian Kirk, he's going to be the classic. No one wants to draft him, but he could remain fantasy relevant in 2025.
He's going to run all the routes in that Texans offense. He's going to have the slot role to himself probably. He's one of like 3 or 4 slot receivers who is effective as a deep ball guy. Like
again, that's always been to his detriment.
Well, I mean,
the thing I say over and over again to Christian, they can't decide how to use him. Is he a deep guy or is he a pure slot guy?
Right. And that's why we're not going to draft him in the top half of the draft, Yeah. But I'm in total agreement. If you see last year as just a down year for Stroud and say, he'll bounce back, then Kirk would be a natural beneficiary of that. He's
really the only one that pops off this list of the receivers. So Christian Kirk, maybe a name is going to come up as the offseason goes along. Denny, what names come up in your tight end article? It's live on rotoworld.com right now.
Man, we'll talk about this next week. It was Jonnu Smith. It was Isaiah Likely. And I take no pleasure in saying it was Dalton Kincaid.
Stop.
I know.
A second good game has been discovered?
No, he had no good games, but his metrics are really nice.
By the way, I thought you said this article wasn't going to be done. That's why we weren't going to talk about it today.
Well, our boss, DJ Short, he published it just before the show.
All right. So that's live on the website, Denny on tight ends. We'll be back on Thursday with Mr. Kyle Dvorak joining us. We don't know what to talk about yet. We know it's going to be good. For Denny, I'm Pat. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in 2 days.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.